Can I begin?
Yes.
Hello everybody. On this episode we're going to be discussing the effects of Tay Sachs and how it has no cure, which gives toddlers no chance to survive. Please join us as we explore this disease known as Tay Sachs.
Hello, my name is Grace Bradford and I'm here with Tay Sachs Disease specialist Dr. Audrey Wood, who is going to tell us the effects of Tay Sachs Disease. So tell us, Dr. Wood, what exactly is Tay Sachs?
Tay Sachs disease is a fatal genetic disorder most commonly occurring in children that results in a progressive destruction of the nervous system. Tay Sachs is caused by the absence of a vital enzyme called hexosaminidase A.
I see, and what happens genetically when the error of Tay Sachs occurs in your DNA?
Well, without hex A, a lipid called ganglioside accumulates abnormally in cells, especially in the nerve cell of the brain. The accumulation causes progressive damage to the cells.
So then how would you test for the genetic error?
Just a simple blood test could identify Tay Sachs carriers. Well, blood samples could be analyzed by either enzyme assay, which is a biochemical test that measures the level of hex A in a person's blood, or by a DNA study. A carrier will have less hex A in their body fluid and cells than a non-carrier would.
So tell us, what are the toughest physical and mental struggles someone dealing with Tay Sachs could experience?
In children, the process begins in the fetus early in pregnancy. However, a baby with Tay Sachs disease appears normal until about 6 months of age when their development begins to slow. By about age 2, most children experience seizures and decreasing mental functions. Soon the infant is unable to crawl, turn over, sit, or reach out. Eventually, the child becomes blind, impaired, paralyzed, and unresponsive. And by the time the child is age 3 or 4, the nerve system is so badly affected that death results usually around age 5. Let's say on the Punnett square, capitalized A and capitalized A is not affected, capitalized A and lowercase a is not affected, but a carrier and lowercase a is affected. In order for a child to be affected by Tay Sachs, both parents need to be a carrier. So if both parents are a carrier, then these could be the results, which is 50% could be not affected but a carrier, 25% could be affected, and 25% could be not affected. These symptoms are related to by a child named Ryan Parker, who was born on February 19, 2002. We're going to meet with reporter Abigail Bosco as she interviews one of Ryan's family members.
I am sitting here with Ryan's sister, Sophie Parker. Let's talk about the emotional struggles you faced while your baby brother was being affected by this awful disease. Once Ryan's symptoms started showing and increasing, what were you feeling like at the time?
Well, at the time, I was only about 10, so I was still a kid, and I couldn't really see the medical side of what was happening. All I knew that my baby brother was suffering, and I couldn't do anything to help him.
What were your first thoughts that went through your head when you found out that he was eventually going to pass?
I kept telling myself that he'd get through it, but eventually I had to come to the conclusion that there really was no cure for Tay Sachs. I kept thinking that it really wasn't fair. This rare disease somehow got on my brother instead of anyone else. It really was heartbreaking. I couldn't watch him grow up like this. I almost felt guilty that I got to live a healthy life whilst he was dying at such a young age.
So tell us about Ryan's symptoms.
Everything was normal for a long time. He rolled over on time, sat up on time, walked when he was 13 months old. He said his first words shortly after. It wasn't until Ryan was 1.5 years old that my parents began to suspect something might be wrong. Ryan's clumsiness hadn't improved. He still drooled. His startle reflex had become worse. Shortly after his 3rd birthday, he had gone through another 9 months of repeated testing. Blood tests, urine tests, EEGs, multiple MRIs, hearing tests, eye tests, you name it. And then he passed before he was able to reach the age of 4.
Oh, that's so sad. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thanks for interviewing.
What happens with protein sequences when a person has Tay Sachs?
Nothing.
Tay Sachs disease is caused by a defective gene in chromosome 15. It occurs when the body lacks of hexosaminidase A. This is a protein that helps break down a group of chemicals found in nerve cell tissues called gangliosides.
the DNA chain. The DNA splits and mRNA goes on one side of the splitted DNA to copy it. When it is copied, every time there would be a thymine that is paired with adenine, there is a uracil paired with adenine instead. This is called transcription. tRNA catches the free amino acids and brings them to the ribosome, and then it copies the mRNA, which then creates an amino acid chain. The mRNA attaches to a ribosome, and a start codon must be read. A codon is a sequence of 3 nucleotides that codes for one amino acid. A set of 3 nucleotides in a tRNA molecule will bond to a complementary mRNA codon. These 3 nucleotides are anticodons. Once the tRNA catches the free amino acids and brings them to the ribosome, it forms a polypeptide chain, which is also known as an amino acid chain. This chain folds up and creates a protein. This process is called translation. This is what causes mutations or a change in the DNA sequence.
Dr. Audrey Wood was kind enough to show us what happens during Tay Sachs.
It's a revolution.
Hexosaminidase A works in a lysosome of nerve cells to break down unwanted ganglioside, or GM2, which is a component of the nerve cell membrane. Regularly, Hexa looks like this, and it breaks down or digests the GM2. However, in affected Tay Sachs patients, the alpha subunit of Hexa malfunctions, which causes a toxic buildup of the GM2. So this is the nerve cell, and this is the nucleus of the nerve cell. The GM2 that can't be broken down builds up around the nucleus, fills up the nerve cell, and causes it to die.
Can you see it?
That's it on this episode. See you next time. Hope you learned something new.
The monsters in my head are scared.
Grace! You're messing it up. It is your fault. No, because
Listen up.
okay.
It's
Ready?
never too late.
The child becomes blind, and
I don't want to have kids.
Too much. That was too much.